Hi and welcome to another narration presented by yours truly, Cryptid's Roost. Please be so kind as to throat punch the like button and smack the ass of the subscription button as well. And remember to tap that notification bell and then select all. That way you'll receive all notifications each time we upload new videos. I would like to reach out and say a huge thank you to those of you who have supported Cryptid's Roost financially. We pray the good Lord replenishes you abundantly, and to those of you who will later on. We pray the Lord bless you as you do so. And also a huge thank you to everyone for always supporting the channel with your likes, comments and shares as well. It is all very much appreciated. God bless you all. So grab your coffee, sit back and enjoy the show. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not. The Redhill Brothers, Part 5, The Red Death. This awesome instalment of the ongoing series is written by the BrothersRedhill, aka Cryptic Wander. If you would like to read more of their works, the Reddit link to their profile will be below in the description. Hey guys, Matt here. It's been a bit as usual, I apologise. I've recently been pretty sick. Zach, Serena and myself were getting kind of worried I might die there for a little bit. Not that anyone thought it would be a good idea to bring me to a hospital, but it all worked out I suppose. So there's been an update on the missing brooms. I got up one morning to start yard work and on the doorstep was all of the synthetic brooms I bought. 3 in all. Apparently whoever's been taking them only prefers straw. Note taken. I went about cutting the grass and pruning bushes and trees when the heat really came on. By 11 o'clock it was already about 100 degrees and I was sweating like an animal, so I went inside to get a drink. I didn't know what Zach was up to. I hadn't seen him at all that day, but that wasn't strange in itself. Mostly likely he spent the night down in the swamp with Eileen and her coven, or was hanging out with Melvin and Sheena. They'd been getting on for a while now, and they had a good enough couple of people. We agreed to let them stay in the trailer off the side of the house. I downed a glass of water and gagged. The tap tasted like bad eggs. We get our water pumped right from a well under the house, so I can only assume we had a magnesium leak. This in itself isn't a health hazard, but it's the only reason I can think of for my illness. Zach came running in a few hours later holding a large green ball, maybe the size of a kickball. I was lying on the couch, already sweating with the onset of cramps in my stomach making themselves known. Jesus bro, you look like shit! Yeah, I'm not feeling too good. I think I might have caught something. What's that you got there? Oh this, I'm not sure. I was taking a walk through the woods behind the house and this thing just bopped me on the head. I think it might be some kind of seed. I didn't really have the strength to ask more about it. In fact, when I opened my mouth to ask what he was doing in the woods, vomit shot out instead, spraying across the floor in front of the TV and over to his room. Oh God, I'm so sorry, I yelled. I got up to go to the bathroom and I had to shake my head for a second. The walls started turning into a liquid and slowly dripped down as though it was candle wax. I turned to Zach as he passed the green pod back and forth. That thing must be freezing, I thought real quickly before collapsing in my own puddle of sick. When I opened my eyes again, my head was on fire. Sweat poured from every part of my body and my muscles were killing me. Looks like you got the flu, said Zach, shaking an old mercury thermometer. I had to do a double take as I swore he was wearing a nurse's outfit. He was indeed. A pink button-up dress shirt complete with pink scrub pants as well as a mask donned over his face. A shiny name tag reading, "Hi, I'm Zach," was pinned to his chest. Serena was standing there with him holding a trash bucket next to me in case I had another expulsion. I swear as God is my witness I would not throw up in front of her. "Oh my God, are you okay?" she asked. I struggled to sit up, but I just couldn't. I was so weak. "Water," I tried to warn them. "Don't worry, bro. Nurse Zach is going to make it all better." He lifted my wet head up and brought the sulphur-flavoured water to my lips. I did my best to spit it out, but had no choice but to swallow most of it. After that, I blacked out again. I woke up sometime that night feeling like crap, but much more alert. The first thing I found was I couldn't move, aside from my eyes. I began to panic and tried my best to struggle, but the most I could get out was a couple of twitches of my fingers. As if that wasn't bad enough, I noticed some slight movement in the dark. The closet door towards the foot of the bed slowly creaked open. I was in panic mode and would have screamed quite loudly, but only a few sharp gasps escaped from my tight chest. I could only sit there as the minutes ticked by and watch the horror unfold. I couldn't see anything offhand in the dark, but I knew deep down there was something pure evil in that closet. As time passed, my fear didn't lessen, and in fact increased as I saw the shadow of fingers curl around the doorframe. Like before, time marched on as they sat there, toying with me. Then a head poked out. I finally snapped out of whatever curse restrained me to the bed and ran down the stairs. I could hear Zach snoring away in his room, and I lay down on the couch feeling eternally relieved. I opened my eyes again and was back upstairs in the dark by myself. Once again I couldn't move. This same scene continued to play out over and over until finally I woke up to daylight. The door to the closet remained open, and I could hear Zach downstairs happily humming something as dishes clanged together. I slowly sat up, all of my muscles screaming, and walked over to the stairs. I looked at my bed in disgust, seeing the massive outline of sweat that was shaped to my body. At the top of the stairs I wasn't sure I could make the steps, so I got on my butt and began sliding down each one. Halfway down I could see Serena sitting in the chair reading a book. Zach noticed me, still dressed in his silly get-up, now complete with a hat with a cross upon his dreadlocks. I realised it must be the morning as he was in the middle of plating eggs and sausages. "Matt, you get back to bed, mister. Nurse's orders." Serena jerked up and turned towards me in surprise. "Matty, are you feeling any better?" I shook my head, trying to keep myself from getting dizzy. "No, I still don't feel right. I just wanted to warn you guys not to drink the water. I think it's contaminated." "Shh! You just go back upstairs and get some rest, little fella." I tried to protest, but he simply threw my body over his shoulder and walked me back up to bed. It was just as soaked as I left it, and he plopped me back down with a squelch. "Zach, the bed's disgusting. I can't sleep on this." I tried calling out, but he pushed me down and pulled a moist blanket back over me. "They're all better. Sweet dreams," he said after tucking me in way too tight. Thankfully, Serena came up with some clean bedding and she changed it all over for me. I thanked her and was instantly out. When I woke up, I couldn't move. The closet stayed closed, thank God, but in the corner I saw the dark silhouette of a person crouched down. The dread picked up when it slowly got up to its feet. I could tell it was staring at me. It stood there for a few moments, then slowly made its way over to me, bending down to look directly into my eyes. Only inches away, I couldn't see discernible features on its skin. There was no light reflecting off it. In fact, it seemed to absorb it. We stayed there locked in our staring contest for a long while before I must have gone back to sleep. I was suddenly awoken to the sound of glass shattering downstairs. I threw the covers off and ran down the wooden steps. All the lights were off and I was getting nervous, thinking Captain Bubbles might have gotten out. I reached the light switch and I breathed a sigh of relief, seeing it was only a cup that fell from the cupboard. I finally had brooms that weren't disappearing, so I was able to sweep it up and throw the glass away. Suddenly an overwhelming sense of fear came over me. Everything in the room was exactly as it should be, but it was also different. I couldn't put my finger on why or how I knew, but this was not the right reality. I pushed open Zach's door, hoping to find him, and I did, thank God. He was lying face down into the pillow, and I gave him a couple of good shakes. He let out a moan and turned around to face me. It wasn't Zach. Whatever was in that bed had shriveled, rotten features. Somewhere between a fresh corpse and a skeleton, it looked up at me with wide eyes, and I got the feeling that even though it didn't have lips, it was smiling at me.
Brother, so good to see you,
it wheezed, and slowly sat up. I didn't know how I didn't notice it before, but it was much taller than Zach, and not one part of it wasn't rotting and covered with a thick slime. It made its way towards me and took my wrists in its own tight, bony hands and leaned its awful breath towards my face. "You have to wake up," I heard off in the distance, and instantly my eyes popped open. It was sunny and my body aching all over once again. I threw my head over my bed and emptied what little I had in my stomach. Thankfully, I didn't miss the trash because I broke the pact of not ralphing in front of Serena. "Oh, poor Matt," she cooed, running her hand across the back of my burning neck. "Are you feeling any better at all?" "Sorry, not really. I keep having these terrible dreams and I can't move in most of them." "Oh, that must be sleep paralysis. Those are horrible. I'm so sorry." "It's fine. Is Zach here?" I asked, collapsing against the pillow. I was pretty sure I was dying at that point. "No, he went to the clinic to see about getting you some Tylenol. I wanted to take you to the doctor's, but he was convinced you'd kick whatever you have in a few days. So I told him if he doesn't clear it up at all by tomorrow, I'm calling an ambulance." I breathed out and she held a bottle of water for me. I smacked it out of her hand at first, remembering the water was probably what did this to me in the first place, but realised it was store-bought. She picked it back up and I greedily ripped it from her hands and swallowed every drop. I never knew I could love water so damn much. "Oh my God, thank you. I feel like an oven," I said before slamming 3 pieces of toast in my face. "Yeah, your temperature's still pretty high. It's not within the dangerous limit quite yet, but I took you out of your pyjamas when I changed your bedding again, and that seemed to have helped." "Yeah, I don't feel like I'm gonna combust anymore," I said, as what she said hit me like a ton of bricks. I looked down and sure enough, my doodle was hanging out for the world to see. At that point, I wanted to die. She could see the embarrassment on my face and couldn't help but stifle a giggle. "Don't worry, it's nothing I haven't seen before. I would have left your boxers on if you wore any. Well, I'll stop embarrassing you now. Try and get some rest, okay, Matt? If you need anything, just call." I nodded, still shaken from my exposure. I knew I'd never be able to live it down, but my mind didn't dwell too much longer on it. I fell asleep again, and as I expected, I found I couldn't move when I awoke. Rough, dark hands clamped around my ankles, their owners not in view, and began to pull me down the bed. I tried to scream out, but it was no use. Only hoarse whistles of air squeaked out. I resigned myself to my fate as my head slid off the edge of the bed, and then I snapped out of it. I was lying on my bed like normal, and I didn't ache. This was a bad sign. I stood up and slowly made my way downstairs. The lights didn't work this time, and I wasn't going to go into Zach's room again, so I lay down on the couch, hoping this wasn't a dream and I would get some peaceful sleep. I woke once more and saw a glowing child in the kitchen. My instincts were on full alert, but I actually felt safe. The girl smiled at me and motioned for me to follow. We went up the stairs and into Uncle Bob's room, where I was surprised to find him. He didn't seem to notice us though. as he sat on his bed just staring off at nothing. Sometimes I forget how lonely the poor guy must get. The girl continued to the door that led to the roof and motioned to my pocket. I fumbled for my medallion, which had a green glow to it, and suddenly the door led to a cavern. The walls were rough rock and the floor was packed earth, and every few seconds everything seemed to pulse with some sort of comforting warmth. Stalagmites and stalactites littered the walls, and ahead of me the girl gave a happy friendly smile, as girls normally do, then turned and ran off. "Hey, wait up!" I yelled, and followed her. It wasn't a very long chase, as around the corner was a pool of glowing green water. This wasn't the odd part, as odd as that was. Floating above it in this liquid was a large green egg. It seemed to be the source for the warm pulse and gave me the happiest feeling I had in a long time. Pure joy overtook me and I grinned, looking down at the girl who returned the same expression. "You're Chris Gambin, aren't you?" I asked in awe. She simply gave a smile and nodded. "What is this?" "It's the egg of the Grand One," she simply replied. "The Grand One?" "Sure. Every couple of eons or so, the Grand One, I suppose you could call him God, but not really, hatches from its slumber. It ushers in an age of wonderful creation, happiness and harmony. There are two domineering forces at work that wish to influence it. I suppose that would be a pretty close description of what you call gods." "I don't understand. What do you mean, gods?" "There is a light being that wishes to usher in this golden age. He has lent his aid to you and your brother time and time again." I thought about it for a moment. The situations we've survived thus far have been pretty lucky. She continued, "The power in this land is great, older than time itself. In fact, as time ends and begins, the power resurrects itself over and over again, making time quite meaningless. Should this egg hatch under the light god, a golden age of prosperity will be brought to all of the different universes. There is, however, a dark one as well." As she said this, the egg shifted into the colour purple, with sickly green light streaking through it. Rivets of red appeared now and then, and I swore I could see the face of him form, then disappear. What the hell is that?" I asked. As scary as everything had been so far, the terror that formed by looking at that monstrosity made my skin crawl. I wanted to pull up my eyes so I wouldn't have to see it any longer. It was a completely new definition of pure evil. "The Dark One holds just as much power over this land, and he would see the egg become corrupt. He sends his cohort out to destroy you and your brother. Do not let them in, Matt Redhill. If the egg turns dark, it will mean the end of everything good that's ever existed." She looked up at me and smiled. "For now though, you need to wake up." I shot up from the couch and gasped, the terror of the dream still fresh in my mind. Before I could come to grips with everything, I was met with the muffled sounds of moaning coming from the front of the house. I got up and lifted the curtain, and fear shot through my chest. All across the lawn were corpses in varying states of decay that were all limping their way to the house. I lay down on the couch, trying to flatten my body as much as possible. A wet, gurgling moan sounded out right on the other side of the glass. My shoulder that was on the top of the curtain pulled on it even more, bringing the only divider between us down. I looked up, seeing the rotting woman had clear access inside and was looking around for me. I prayed with everything I had to not let her notice me, and then I opened my eyes. I was in my room once again. The sun, while bright and painful, was a welcome sight. I ached all over, and it was so beautiful. My fever had finally broke, and I was no longer queasy. In fact, I was ravenous. I groaned as I slowly stood up and threw on some pyjama pants. Making a mental note to go buy some boxers, I made my way downstairs. The smell of bacon was absolutely heavenly. Serena was still here, sitting on the couch. A shiver ran down my spine as I remembered the dead woman staring through it just moments ago, but it was quickly dismissed when her eyes lit up. "Matty, how are you feeling?" she asked, getting up and running over to me. "Oh, so much better. Thank you for staying and helping." Her arms wrapped around me and she gave me the tightest hug. "Don't mention it. I'm just so happy you're okay. And as soon as you're done eating, you really need a shower. Haha." "Yeah, I feel pretty gross, and for some reason it's freaking freezing in here. What you making, bro?" I asked Zach. He turned around with the cast iron skillet in hand and my stomach dropped. It was the corpse from before in his room. "You!" he yelled as both of the front door and back door slammed open. Zombies came walking inside and towards me. I backed up to the steps as the line of the undead reached Serena. Fleshless hands dug into her body and teeth came down, ripping the skin from her bones. "What's wrong, Matty? I thought you were hungry," she asked with a giggle. I ran back upstairs to Uncle Bob's old room and found my medallion laying on his desk. I plucked it up and ripped open the door that led to the roof of the woodshed and jumped out. The sky outside was once again night, and in the darkness I could see a large black egg hovering over the town, and I shuddered, knowing it was the dark one. I looked around hoping to see the light egg, but it was nowhere in sight. Down below me, thousands of zombies surrounded the house. It was an endless horde, and I couldn't see any end to the ocean of monsters. They all looked up to me with dull, lifeless eyes full of hatred and hunger. I could hear the sound of a massive shell crack open, and to my horror, the dark egg began breaking pieces off. I slipped on a shingle and fell straight into their open arms. Oddly enough, I didn't feel any teeth sink into my skin. Instead, I was awakened to a sort of rumbling growl on my chest. A long, rough tongue ran up my face and I opened my eyes to see, well, I'm not really sure what. Eggshells littered the bed and this lizard, I guess, was lying on my chest, nuzzled right against my chin. I jumped, making the creature roll off of me with a high-pitched screech, and I backed away to the door. It let out a grizzled cry towards me and let one out myself for Zach. He came bounding up the stairs, still in a pink nurse's uniform, and he stared at the thing on the bed. "Aw, it's so cute," he yelled, running over to it. He picked it up and cuddled it, making it continue its raspy purr. A dinosaur was the only thing I could come up with. It walked on 4 flat feet, had a small curving horns around its face with a rock-looking shell down to a club. An ankylosaurus? Was that the thing you found in the woods? Yeah, like I said, I thought it was a big seed, so I was planning on trying to crossbreed it with some of the green Melvin and Sheena gave me. The dinosaur began licking his face, making him giggle. "Cold!" he yelled. Thoughts of a child and his dog flooded my mind. Why was it on my chest? Because I wanted to bring your temperature down. I was going to put a bag of chicken tenders on your head, but we ran out after I ate the rest. So I put the egg on you. Nothing about that makes sense, but you know what? I'm just going to go with it. I feel a lot better and I reek, so I'm going to hit the shower. Zach and the thing was still heavy in a cuddle session, so I just let it go and grabbed some clothes. I thought hard about the dreams I had, and was disappointed Serena wasn't really there. I knew she was a lesbian, so I wasn't being too disappointed, but that kiss. I walked down the steps for real this time, and there she was, sitting on the couch. My heart beat with joy, and I prayed to whatever was listening that it wasn't another dream. "Matt, are you feeling any better yet?" she asked, running over to check my forehead. "Yeah, I think so. Are you real?" I asked, putting my hand to hers. At this she blushed, but grinned. "Of course I am. There can only be one of me." This time I blushed. Well, how would you like to have some breakfast after my shower? I could eat a cow. It's a date, she said with a wink. I felt stupid, hoping we could have anything more, and turned to go to the bathroom. Matt? She asked, making me turn. I'm really glad you're okay. I could see tears begin to form in her eyes, and I hugged her tightly, stinky pits and all. Thank you for being here for me. It meant a lot, I said as she planted another kiss on my lips. But I thought you were... I'm bi. I can like both. Now get your smelly butt in there before I kick it. After I left, I found out her and her girlfriend broke up. Kind of a shame, but I suppose I couldn't complain too much. After a good talk, I went outside to do some lawn work. I had to say I was impressed. Zach kept everything pretty decently. I grabbed a bunch of brush and brought it over to the burn pile and stopped. Before me at the top of the massive pile stood a straw man made completely out of brooms. Don't forget, if you enjoyed that story, be sure to pop over to the author's Reddit profile and drop them a line, or even give them a glowing review. I'm sure they really would appreciate it. The link to their Reddit profile will be below in the description. Please be so kind as to throat punch the like button and smack the ass of the subscription button as well. And remember to tap the notification bell and then select all. That way you'll receive all notifications each time I upload a new video. Oh, and don't forget to share the video far and wide. This will all help with YouTube's algorithm and will help to promote this channel more. And don't forget to check out the merch store. The link will be in the description and also in the video thumbnail. And if you would like an honourable mention, send in a snapshot of yourself with your purchase and I'll feature it in one of the videos. I now have my very own subreddit community where you can submit any stories you've written. You can submit your stories or encounters either there or send them to cryptidsroost@gmail.com. If you wish to remain anonymous, that's fine with me. All the links are below. I also have a Facebook group, Twitter, Reddit, and you'll also find me on Discord. If you would like to support this channel and help make it grow, my PayPal is paypal.me/cryptidsroost. Again, that will also be below. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not.